name's Roger Dale Martin, and I'm a musician. And at the same time, I'm a fitness enthusiast. I'm a personal trainer. My day gig is personal training. It's been for a long time now. Today, I'm going to talk about my journey with fitness. And we're going to talk about what we're going to do in the future. I got big plans for everybody here. Grit and Gristle. It's called Grit and Gristle because we're going to get in shape. And it's very, 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 very difficult to pull off. Okay, to change your body is very difficult. And first thing we want to do, I want to find out if we're on real quick and see if things are rocking and rolling. This may be a live chat. If it is, and you guys can come in and go ahead and tell me your name, where you're from, and be thinking about some questions. I want to talk for about 45 minutes here, and then for 15 minutes, I'm going to look at questions from you guys, and then we're going to talk about everything we're doing. Okay, everything's going good. Okay, baby, could you stay right there? Then Heidi's with me. She's going to help me. And if there's any, can you see any kind of comments or anybody? Oh, you do see that. All right. So this is not a family chat, and this is not a musical podcast for me. When I go into trainer mode, things get serious. And of course, we can have fun, but at the same time, we're going to talk about fitness. Now, I've had a personal training business for quite some time now, and my business model is results. A lot of trainers are selling vitamins. They're selling kinds of stuff, protein powder, whatever, trying to make some money. I never did that. In fact, I had guys all over me all the time. Who? I got an echo for some reason. I don't know why. Can you turn that volume down? Let's see what's happening. All right. And I may have to. Okay, that's better. Just like that. Basically, I am going to be your personal trainer. We are going on a journey to get fit, to get as muscular as possible, to drop this body fat as much as possible. Okay, it ain't easy. It's called Grit and Gristle because it's very, very difficult. I'd like to know who's going to join in with me. I'm going to help you with this, and it's going to cost you some too. And I'll talk more about this, but right off the bat, what I want you to do, anybody who's going to join in with us on Grit and Gristle, we're all going to be together, and we're all going to encourage each other and help each other. But right off the bat, what I need everyone to do, if you want to join in on this, is get a body fat assessment. Now, a body fat assessment is some kind of test that you get that will tell you your body fat, what percentage of your body is fat. And so I'm going to show you one of the things I've done. Now, there's a place here in town called NutriShop. They sell vitamins and all kinds of supplements and stuff like that too. Now, this is your sheet. This is a body fat assessment sheet. It tells you your body fat. This goes into great detail about how much water you got, dry lean mass, and your weight, skeletal mass, all this kind of stuff. How big your right arm is, your left arm, and as far as consistency, and and those kind of things. Okay, that's fine. If you can get something like this, it'd be great. And just figure out, Google it. How do I want my body fat tested? Go somewhere and get your body fat tested. I think this used to be free, but now I see so many people over this place that it costs you $10. But somehow, get a body fat measure. Say, okay, my name is Joe Blow, and my body fat is this amount. And I haven't got this set up. Today is a trial run for everything, but it is the first episode of Grit and Gristle. I want you to get your body fat. And what I want you to do, send me a dime. And I haven't figured this. Well, Larry's going to help me with this, where all you got to do is we're going to make this really, really easy. Press the button. You're going to send me $10. You're going to send me what I want from you is your body fat assessment. I want you to know how old you are, a little bit about yourself, maybe even a picture. Okay. And then right off the bat, for $10, I'm going to figure out your macronutrients. In other words, I'm going to figure out how many grams of protein, how many grams of carbs, and how many grams of fat that you need a day to get in shape. And that's the first thing that we're going to do. So, body fat assessment, save yourself $10, and next time around, I'll show everybody how to do this. In other words, I'm going to be your personal trainer up to a certain extent. Okay, we're all together. I am the leader of the pack, which means whatever I'm asking you guys to do, I'm going to do it too. Okay. So right off the bat, let's look at this from a spiritual standpoint, shall we? All right. Thank you, baby. All right. Woo! The Bible talks a whole lot about physical fitness, and most people don't even know it. All right. Right off the bat, let's 1 Corinthians 6:19 through 20. You don't have to get your Bible or nothing. I just want you to listen. This is Paul. Paul is talking to the Corinthian church. And what was happening with Corinthians, and Corinth was a town that was wild and crazy, completely wild and crazy. The locals had a temple that was basically to worship this god called Aphrodite, who they thought was the god of sex and love. And then at these temples, man, we're talking about prostitutes, everything. The whole thing of worship was having sex. And Paul was addressing these guys and going, dudes, come on, dudes and dudettes, because there was male prostitutes also, or whatever you wanted. Anyway, so here's what Paul told him. Quit doing that, he said. Don't you know, when it boils down to it, here's what he told the Corinthian church. He said, do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit? This body is a temple. Who is in you, whom you have received from God. You are not your own. You were bought at a price. So honor God with your body. Okay. That's the first scripture. Honor God with your body. This is on our body. Okay. The temple. This is the temple of the Holy Spirit. This is one thing that the Christian community, and in fact, maybe even the medical community, has kind of turned a deaf ear to. Paul says, your body is the temple. Sometimes I want to hear this. Almost every Christian wants to hear these words. Well done, good and faithful servant. And a lot of people focus on the spiritual aspect. There is a physical aspect to it. Okay. When the Bible talks about physical training, at one point, 1 Timothy 4:8, Paul was talking to Timothy, and he said, I'll just go ahead and read 1 Timothy 4:8. For physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, for this age and the age to come. And he said physical training is of some value. Now, a long time ago, in the King James Version, it said basically physical training is of a little value. Well, and people thought, well, it's not worth anything, but it is. That's the wrong translation. Physical training is of some value. And he says it's of a small value because it's temporary. It's while we're on earth. He said godliness is better than that because it has value for the earth and for heaven too. But for this physical training, it's all about what we got, this physical bodies here on earth. Also, at the same time, Timothy wasn't a big buff dude. He suffered with sicknesses and all kinds of stuff. And one time, Paul told him, to quit drinking water. Drink you a little wine for your stomach's sake and for your frequent illnesses. Now, what's this about the Bible? He said, quit drinking water and drink you a little bit of wine. Surprising thing the Bible says. Also, another surprising thing that the Bible talks about is nutrition. And I want to fill everybody in right now on what the Bible talks about nutrition. There's a lot of people have heard of the Song of Solomon, the Song of Songs. Well, that's a whole chapter. It's a whole book dedicated to love and sex. The Song of Solomon. Now, thank you, Hattie. And in Deuteronomy chapter 32, it is what's called the Song of Moses. And in the Song of Moses, God is basically saying, I'm going to choose you, Israel, and I'm going to feed you. And I'm going to go ahead and read this to you. Excuse me. Deuteronomy chapter 32, and we're going to start with verse 13. And this is all about food. Okay, God is talking about Israel. No, I don't need that, baby. Thank you. God's talking about Israel, and here's how he fed. It's an analogy. He said, "Whew. In a desert land, he found him. In a barren and howling wasteland, he found him." This is God finding you, basically, finding Israel. And he said, he made him ride on the heights of the land and fed him with the fruit of the fields. This is what God's feeding his people, the fruit of the fields. So we got fruit. Also, he nourished him with honey from the rock. Honey. We got fruit, we got honey. Now, contrary to popular opinion, sugar is not the enemy. And we'll talk a whole lot more about that. So we got honey. Also, and with oil from the flinty crags. So we got oil. They used a lot of olive oil. So we got fruit, we got honey, we got oil. And then God says, with curds and milk from herd and flock. So where we got your dairy, we got curds and milk. Whey protein comes from curds, basically. So we got your dairy group. There's four. This is how God's feeding his people now. And with fattened lambs and calves. Guess what? Red meat. All you vegetarians out there. Nothing wrong with vegetarianism, but God at the time said red meat, homies. Awesome. We've got the finest kernels of wheat. So there's number 6. There's your grains right there. So we got fruit, we got sugar, we got your oil, we got dairy, we got red meat, and we got grains, and we got one more. Okay? You drank the foaming blood of the grape. So we got wine. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 things. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that. Okay. Grapes, wine, nothing is left out. Okay. There used to be the 4 major food groups. So if you hear somebody saying you need to do this now, food is not like it used to be. And that's one thing they've got to look at. Like milk, generally the milk back then was fresh from goats, cows. The milk we have now, pasteurized, homogenized, just completely stripped of everything. So we'll look at those things in general, but really there's no food that's not, and that's taboo, basically. All right. So that's the Song of Moses. We're going to look at that. Also, we need to look at Psalms also. One of the biggest things that we have to do right now, one of the first things you have to do is accept who you are. When it comes to fitness, you accept who you are and how God made you. In Psalms, there's Psalms 139. God tells us that I knit you together in your mother's womb. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. And God saw your unformed body before you had any of them. Okay? So God made you. God made me. God made everybody. He had his hand in making you. Okay? Everybody has got something that they don't like about themselves. Okay? In other words, I don't like my nose. I don't like my ears. I don't like my head. I don't like my whatever. Everybody's got something like that. And they said, why did God make me? I don't know how God made me. Why? God made you that way. Basically, there's 3 body types. There's the skinny, and I'll say skinny, and there's the fat, and there's the muscular. Okay? Skinny people are called ectomorphs. They're just naturally thin. A lot of times which I am, an ectomorph. Okay? Naturally thin. Type A a lot of time. Tunnel vision. That kind of a thing. That kind of personality. Lots of calories being burned just sitting here. Next body type is called a mesomorph, which is a muscular body type. Think Arnold Schwarzenegger. Think Brad Pitt. Think of these guys like that. They're just naturally muscular. And then you have a mesomorph, which is just naturally heavy. uh, just naturally heavy people. Okay, and how you look at that, and a lot of people aren't necessarily a pure ectomorph. There could be a combination of ecto and meso and endo. These certain type of body types are called somotypes, and it's easy to find out. Basically, you look at your wrists and you look at your ankles. If they're real thin, you got a real. See, I got a real thin wrist. I can look at that. That's a really thin wrist. Okay. And thin bone structure, a light skeleton is ectomorph. Now, if you got a real big, thick wrist and ankles really big, that means you're a mesomorph. Okay, you're just big. And then the mesomorph is kind of right in between with those kind of with the skeletal types or completely body types. I'd say a mesomorph, a naturally muscular person, is probably maybe 1 or 2% of the population. Those are your fitness models. Those are your your bodybuilders, the mesomorphs. Okay, now for me, it's a very unfortunate because I am an ectomorph, which is naturally skinny, with mesomorph, with endomorph characteristics. In other words, I'm what's called a skinny fat. I'm skinny, but I can get a fat stomach real quick. And so I'm the worst. My body type is the worst body type as far as bodybuilding or fitness to ever pick. Okay, but it didn't. In grit and gristle, those things don't matter. Grit and gristle, we're going to accept who we are, and this is our temple that God gave us, and God says this is honor God with your body, not just people think, well, I'm not going to have sex outside of marriage or whatever you think about that. This is how I'm honoring God with my body, and I'm going time out. What are you putting in your body? How you treating it? Honor God with your body. That's an easy one. Think about it, but to actually perform it, to actually do it is very difficult. What I'm asking you guys to do is to change your body. Very difficult. There's this thing called homeostasis, which means your body stays. It wants to so bad to stay exactly the same, and you have to fight that. Homo means the same, so we're going to have to fight that. And also, your body seeks the path of least resistance. Not necessarily lazy. Your body's going to make things easy on it. And what we have to do is trick our body. How can we grow muscle? How would your body seeks the path of least resistance? If you keep training this muscle, you keep training it, your body's going to go, oh, this is too hard. I'm going to grow some muscle and make this easy. That's bodybuilding. That's getting in shape. Also, when it comes to who we are and how God has made us, I had a hard time accepting who I was. Okay. Now, basically, if you want to be a fitness model or you want to be a bodybuilder, choose your parents wisely. Okay. Your mom and your dad, take a look at both of them. You're a combination of your mom and dad. Look at your grandparents. Okay. My grandfather on my father's side was short. He was a short guy, but but he was pretty lean and he wasn't real big at all, but he had some guns. And he was known for being tough and had some big old arms. And so that's why arms were the easiest body part for me to develop. Okay. And so that's called genetics. On my mother's side, my grandfather was a skinny fat. He was fat. He was fat. And I remember when I was a kid, I was looking at him and he used to sit down in his chair and he'd pull his pants up and his ankles and his calves. I'm going, oh gosh, his calves. I'm like, what happened to his legs? Well, guess what? I got them. And that's something that I had to come to terms with. And believe me, I've got skinny legs. I'm reading a lot of Eddie Van Halen. I've read a lot about him, and he said, I've got skinny legs. There's nothing I can do about it. And so that's something that a lot of people will have a stubborn body part. In other words, one will get in shape. And, it's stubborn and like the chest won't grow. I want a good big chest. Sometimes it's not in the cards for you. Sorry, we're going to look at those kind of things too. Okay, now you can do the best you can. What we're called to do is do the best we can with what God has given us. I don't care if you're skinny. I don't care if you're fat. I don't care if you're muscular. What we're going to do is get in the best shape as possible. We're given a talent, and what do we do with it? Okay, some guys are dealt a 10 body. They're a 10. Okay, their job is to stay in shape. Their job is to eat correctly. And there's some people who are skinny as a rail, which was me for a long time. And other people were fat, and I'll say it, fat and skinny. The reason I say that, because I've been skinny all my life, and I've been called skinny. I can, believe me, I'm writing things down, and I can remember every insult that through the years that were planted in my brain. You know, right now people say, "Oh, you're fat." Okay, you know, fat people have it bad. Not. It's skinny people who have it bad. A fat person can lose body fat. Sorry, you look at these pictures of a German concentration camp, and nobody fat. In fact, they're all skin and bones. Losing body fat is easy compared to manufacturing muscle. Okay, unless you're a mesomorph. But even then, it's a whole lot easier to lose body fat. Manufacturing muscle is very, very difficult. For those who are skinny, they get it a whole lot harder because the social things mean what's it called when your butt hurt? Don't butt hurt a fat person because they're fat. But you can holler all over skinny people. Okay, skinny people got it bad because they're not protected by so-called political correctness. Okay, and so because I'm a skinny person, I can remember so many times where those things went into my heart, and I hated it. I didn't like myself because my legs and my calves. But guess what? I began to like myself. I began to understand God made me for a certain reason. Okay, and I wear shorts in the summer. Okay. Okay. And Heidi's hollering at me for something.
Thank you for me.
Okay, I know. Thank God for my wife because you know she likes a shaved head and she likes a skinny rock star. Basically, she said, "Roger, put those skinny jeans on." I'm like, "Honey, my legs are so skinny." She said, No, that's a good look. It's a rock star look. Now, as long as you have a V up on top, which I do, I have a V shape on top. As long as you have V shape, you kind of look like that rock star on heroin, you know, which is a pretty cool look. And so thank God for her, okay? And so that makes it easy for me. Now, right there at this point, now I want you to hold your questions, and I want to give you my story. I'm basically right now, I'm going to tell you my fitness story. My fitness story is just as big as my musical story, and in fact, just as strong. When I grew up, I was 50% music, and I was 50% bodybuilding, basically. When it came to music, my big turning point was watching the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. I was about 5 years old, 5 or 6. I remember that. That changed everything for me. And then let me start from the beginning. I was born in 1958, okay? And I think I was 6 pounds, 7 ounces. It was a pretty healthy baby. And but I was very thin. I didn't develop very much at all. And then my mom and dad told me that there were people, especially this one man in church, which he was a very wise man. He told them, he said, I don't think this one's going to make it. So he didn't think I was going to actually live because I was very thin. And it was just one of those things. I was thin all over. In fact, in the first grade, back then things were different. They weighed everybody in the first grade. I weighed 29 pounds. Now, a lot of babies are born at 12 pounds. And okay. So Heidi's giving me the thumbs up. She was born 29 pounds. So that's a small 6-year-old, 29 pounds. Okay. And so, but I wasn't, I could run, I could play, I could do all those things. In fact, My dad was a basketball coach, and he was known for his quickness. He was real quick. He was probably an average type of build. And anyway, so about 6, and then at the time when I was young, maybe 8 or 9, I remember the boys. I was over at my great grandmother's house. Mama Harris is her name, and she's a wonderful woman. And these kids were, I was hollering, they were rising on me because I was so skinny. Roger, skinny, skinny, skinny. And I got mad. And anyway, I probably was crying. This is 7 or 8. I was crying, and she said, Roger, come here, come here. She put her arm around me, and she said, I hope you keep your shape. I like how you look. Man, that was my great grandma. That was Mama Harris. So I kind of stuck my head up and said, "Yeah, screw you guys." And that was because that was wonderful that Mama Harris did that for me. She said, and also there was another. I'm going to kind of veer off from this, but when I left for California, I'll tell you about that. I'll say I'm getting out. So anyway, skinny. When I grew up, my gosh, I played basketball. I played basketball in the 1st grade. I played basketball, skipped the 2nd, 3rd, played 4th grade. Every year I'm playing basketball. And my dad, I found out a lot about my body then. Even though I was real thin, I couldn't recuperate much. In fact, when I was a senior in high school, I could touch the rim at the first of the season, and then as the season went forward, I couldn't touch the rim. I was steadily, I couldn't recoup from my workouts. Okay. I was steadily going downhill in that one. And so for me, it's hard for me to recoup. Cardio wears me out. Now, when I was younger, I could do some cardio, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So let me see some of the insults here that I remember. One time I was really into dancing one time, and we used to do the American Bandstand and stuff. And I remember we used to do this thing called the Harvey. I don't know if you remember that or not, but I think I was in the junior high or something. And man, I was doing the Harvey, and then in front of everybody, and then this black girl, she goes, "You look just like a stick horse." And oh man, and that was it. Believe me, my dancing, but that hit me hard. And if you have a body part, if you're something about your body, believe me, it's just something that if somebody, boy, they'll stab you, and it hurts really, really bad. And so, and there was another situation that happened that I never tell anybody about, but it made me feel bad about myself. But I got over that too. Okay, I won't go into detail about that. I think everybody knows how bad it hurts when somebody talks about them, their physical body. And so a big turning point for me was when I was 12 years old. Back when I was 12, the family were all together. There used to be a great big television set, and everybody would watch. There was a show came on Sunday afternoon. It was called ABC's Wide World of Sports, and the thrill of victory. And then somebody was doing something, they were dunking a basketball, and the agony of defeat. And when they say the agony of defeat, there's this guy on a ski slope, and he's flying through the air, and he completely wipes out. Okay. Well, back then, they had all kinds of sports, and they had a bodybuilding show. And we were all watching this. This is like a family reunion. Everybody's in front of this, and we were watching sports. But anyway, bodybuilding show. And everybody started freaking out. And here's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Back then, he dominated. He completely dominated. And it was more accepted at the time than it is now. You can't even find a bodybuilding show on television or at all. But this was like Mr. Olympia, primetime television. And I remember the reaction of everybody. In fact, I definitely, my uncle was Herschel Davis, what he called him, and he didn't like it. He said, all those guys who just pump up their muscles, and anybody do that, pump up their muscles and look like that. And he kind of was offended, and he was a thin guy. And the women were kind of like, you know, not disgusted, just very interested. And I thought, wow, this really, and I thought, yes. And at 12 years old, I was like, no, listen, this is what I want. I like this. Just the same at 6 years old, I'm playing music. 12 years old, I'm getting in shape. I don't want to be skinny anymore. And back then, you had all of the comic books. There was this comic book, a guy named Charles Atlas. On the back of the comic book, it's some dude kicking sand in another guy's face. And you remember that too? And then the guy got mad, and then the bully goes over there and says, "Hey man, I'd hit you, but you'd dry up and blow away." And the guy's all mad, and there's this girl in a bikini. She goes, "Oh, don't let it bother you, little bully." And in other words, that was his way of saying, Charles Atlas, I'll teach you how to get big and strong. And then at the end of the cartoon, it shows the guy, he's all pumped up, and he punches the guy right in the face and knocks him out. Okay. And then the girl at the beanie says, "Oh, Mac, you really are a man after all." And then I never set off for the course, but that was motivating and pissed me off at the same time. Okay. And so I think my dad bought us one of these plastic weight sets when I was in high school and stuff too. And we did a little bit. And I remember looking at the things, but I was still very, very thin. And after high school, after my senior year of basketball, I was pretty much, I think I weighed 130, maybe 132 if I was pumped as a senior in high school. And I had a 28-inch waist, so I wasn't fat. At all. But I remember when I went into college, I met this guy who was really, really built. And I started right after high school was when I started, I'm going to work out. I'm going to get on a workout regimen. And then when I went into college, and I remember being in there in the gym, and this guy, he was my friend, but he was looking at me and he was laughing. I was doing what I was doing. I was doing some exercise, and it was just thought it was funny because I was in there exercising and using very little weight and just looked pretty bad. And so that's something I remember there too. And college, I did 2 years of college and did pretty good there. And then there was a point where I had to choose music or I had to choose college, and I chose music. And I never regret it. Okay, it was a good decision. I'm glad I did that. But I moved to Shreveport, and then after work, I started going to this gym that these bodybuilders were at. This is Shreveport, Louisiana, and I did everything I could do to figure out what was going on. Okay, and working out, and I actually did pretty good. I went from 135 to about 145 pounds, and still pretty thin. But I felt good. I remember looking down, and my chest was big enough to where I couldn't see anything else but my chest. I'm thinking, that's pretty cool. Rather than a lot of times you look down and you see a stomach or whatever. And so I was in pretty good shape around 145. When I was maybe about 20 or 21 or something like that. And if I quit training, it would instantly go downhill. And it wasn't really happening for me. And one of the big reasons was I wasn't eating right. Okay. When I grew up, when I was born in 1958, and back then it was the technology was, you don't need to be breastfed. We have formula, which is better. And then bacon and eggs, we have a fortified cereal. And everything started going into processed foods back in the 60s. And that's when I grew up. But that's not really an excuse, because a lot of guys eat that crap and they turned out to be monsters, but not me. And also another thing that happened, my dad smoked. Back in that day, everybody smoked constantly, smoked at the table. And so I had asthma really bad. I got every sickness known to man, mumps, measles, chickenpox. I got all that, every cold that came in. In fact, my immune system sucked. Okay, I'm a skinny fat. My immune system sucked, and I wanted to be big and muscular. And I didn't like myself. I didn't like my body. I really didn't. Even though I played basketball and I could do the things that that a normal person could do. I just didn't like that. So I quit school and I started working, and then I started. Anytime I quit working out, I would just completely deflate, and I was always struggling. And I just remember, even when I was in college, here's another insult. So we were eating and something, and somebody got this a piece of meat stuck in their teeth. And I said, Roger, come here. Let me snap off one of your legs and get this out of here. That was in college. And you know what? If I'd had a gun, I would have blown his head off. Pow, pow, pow. Thank you very much. Here you go. But I didn't. But they hurt, and I still remember that. I still remember him saying that, and I still remember. Believe me, I could rattle off a whole bunch of these, and I didn't like the way it looked. Okay, so boom, all of a sudden, it was a chance to go to California. This was 1984, and once I went to California, I was still in workout mode, trying to do the best I could, and going to California, and things started working out for me. Okay, now being super skinny back in the glam days was fine. And I was still working out to be just as strong and as big as possible. And a lot of rock stars are like that. Steve Vai, when he was in the David Lee Roth band, he would try to stay as muscular as possible, because Steve Vai is just like me. It's a hard time to keep weight on, and he trained quite a bit. And so then I was training then. And also with Vengeance, there was a whole lot of, we had to do so much cardio, basically. And a friend of mine, Keith Allison, owned the bike shop, and then we went bike riding. And I was an avid bike rider, 10-speed bike, 15-speed, whatever it was. And and so I would do a lot of cardio, and I was in shape for the stage. And I was probably around 140 or something, 145, something like that, back in those days. And I started going to a gym called Grunt and Sweat. This is Southern California. This is right on the beach. It was mostly beach. It was called Grunt and Sweat. And I went in there, and this was a place where bodybuilders lived. And these guys were huge. And I was the only one in there that was just average. And I'm sorry. And so what I did was I worked out. I had good form. I was very polite, very nice. I did not try to lift heavier than I could. I say to myself, and they let me stay in there. Okay. And they could have easily just said, you don't ever come in here again, or we will we'll make your life miserable. They didn't do that. And somehow I was able to stay in that gym, and I was kind of watching people and what they did. But here is a huge thing that happened to me. One time I was leaving the gym, and I was out in the parking lot. And at the time, Vengeance was at its peak. We were ministering like crazy, though. The music ministry was happening. And there in that parking lot, I stopped. And there's probably about 3 major prayers that's been in my life. 3. And this is one of them. I said, God, I'm not anything like these guys, but I ask that you use me in the fitness or in this bodybuilding field somehow. And that was probably about 84 to 94. That was probably about 1992. God answered that prayer, but it wasn't. Gosh, it was 84 to 94. It wasn't until like 12, 15 years later that things started, that God answered that prayer. He truly answered that prayer. When I moved to California, when I moved from California to Nashville, it was for a reason. Okay. For a big reason, for a lot of reasons. Okay. Vengeance was over, and then Bob had a vision at the time, and which was having a rock and roll tent revival. And I tell you, when I had a vision to come to Nashville, to move from California to Nashville, from LA to Nashville, when I was in California for every day for 6 months, I would wake up and go, what is it about Nashville? Anyway, I talked to Pastor Bob about it. He said, Roger, I'm going to Nashville. I want to start a rock and roll tent revival. Nashville is this state where it's the hub. In 2 hours, 2 and 3 hours, you can get to 5 different states. Okay, it's like the center of this hub. And I want to start a rock and roll tent revival where we're going to set up a tent, we're going to have a band, we're going to jam, and we're going to do this tent revival thing. And I'm thinking, count me in. And I figured that was the whole thing. That's why I hadn't been able to sleep or waking up with this vision. Well, guess what? It didn't happen. Rock and roll tent revival didn't happen. In fact, my life went from wonderful and beautiful down to absolutely pig slump. I lost my wife. I lost my family. I lost my health. Very, 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 very difficult. Very, very difficult time. And so none of it worked out. But never in my heart did I know that I made the wrong decision. I always felt I made the right decision no matter what. And thank God, because I kept my head right. And so the next thing I know, you guys, I was in a situation, I got divorced, and about a year later, all of a sudden I have 3 little bitty kids that are mine, and I've got to take care of them. I'm like, oh crap. Okay, I didn't have any help. I didn't have any family here in Nashville. Okay, so I was in trouble. So to solve a problem, I married a woman who had 4 kids. I have 3 kids. She had 4 kids. The day we got married, we had 7 kids. Okay, just like the Brady Bunch. I had 3 boys. She had 3 girls, same age, with an older boy who was 12. We're talking about 12 all the way down to 2. Okay, so I had a blended family, and all of a sudden, I had to come up with a bunch of money. I'm supporting 9 people, myself and 8 other people, and I was doing surveying work at the time, and so I'm making God, you just get me through this time period. Okay, this is after vengeance. This is after I was a so-called rock star, Christian rock star. Then all of a sudden, I ain't nothing. Okay, I went from status to absolutely no status. Physically, musically, spiritually, none of it. And so all of a sudden I was up here. Now I'm down way below. I got a huge family, and I did some surveying work, and I had an opportunity. Oh gosh, time's flying by. I had an opportunity to go to work at this factory, Nissan factory. Okay, and so
they said you'd be good.
I was making $15 an hour as a surveyor, and to start this factory job started around $12.50. But you had the potential to making $25 an hour. I mean, talking about factory job, building cars, Nissan, the best blue collar job in the state of Tennessee. Well, what happened was there was this guy. I was playing a guitar on stage with a band called, what was the name? The Punch Gum. And there was a guy in the audience who was an area manager at Nissan. And he's like, man, you can play guitar. I said, I need somebody. We're going to hire 6, I don't know how many people, 1,000 people, because they were doing this new line. And man, with your guitar skills, you'll be able to work on these cars. And anyway, he got me a job there. And I was excited about it. I'm a guitar player. I had no skills. I was horrible. It was terrible. So I went to this factory job, trying to work on these cars. I had no skills. I had no skills with tools whatsoever, none. And I think I was about 145 pounds at the time, and I'm trying to work these jobs. I'm not learning these jobs, and then I was called into the office, and the superintendent said, "Look, we're going to give you some more time, but I don't think you're really cut out for this job." And I'm like, crap. So I was in deep, deep, deep trouble because I couldn't learn the job. My health was deteriorating, and I'd given up my survey job. So, and I had 9 people to take care of, and I was in dire straits. Believe me. I started on Halloween night. I was sick at Thanksgiving. My weight was going down. I was losing it. I was sick all Halloween. And then, I had a break. And at Christmas time, I was sick at Christmas time. I was down to about 130 pounds right now. And I was looking pretty bad. I didn't know what was going to happen to me. So I went to the doctor. And the doctor checked me out and said, I'm going to send you to a urologist. And I went to a urologist, and the urologist did a blood test. And then he called me back in his office after he got the results. He said, look, Roger, you got the testosterone of a 12-year-old girl. And I'm going to help you out. And I'm going, okay. And so he put me on hormone replacement therapy. And I was probably about 40 at the time, something like that. And testosterone. Yeah. And all of a sudden, things started changing. Okay, I started feeling better. And then at that point, with this testosterone, all anabolic steroids, they boil down to testosterone. Okay, men have testosterone, women have testosterone. Men have estrogen, women have estrogen in a certain balance, and that's one of the things we'll talk about in the future is hormonal balance. Very important. And so anyway, this doctor said, look, you need some help here. And so, boom, once I got this testosterone going, I'm going, okay, now things are going to work. I was seriously, I was handicapped. Probably all the stress and everything just completely blew my testosterone completely out the window. Okay. And so I started going there, and I started going on, I said, I got to eat. And I didn't know how to eat, but I ate mass quantities. Okay. And so I got this testosterone going. I started eating food. And I started working out at the gym. Now, Nissan at the time, it was fantastic. It had 6,000 employees, and this was tough. Oh my gosh, it was a very, very tough environment too. And along with the heavy work, the people were tough. They didn't take no BS. Okay, the women were tough. The men were tough. It was just it was almost like a prison environment. And so after work, they had a gym there that Nissan provided. And the hardcore who could actually stand the work would go to the gym afterwards and work out. And so I started working out. And I started eating. You've heard of the seafood diet? That means if you seafood, eat it. And I started hitting this testosterone. I started with a doctor. Okay, he was watching me blood work the whole thing. And I started eating mass quantities. I wouldn't eat the right foods, but I was eating, and I started gaining weight. I started lifting these weights, and learning about lifting weights in the gym, learning about how to lift. Okay, and I've read a lot of stuff about it, what to do, getting stronger. And you guys, I was grit. You talk about grit and Gristle. This is the one time where I was forced to get in shape. A lot of times, most people are not forced to get in shape because, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Now, this was do or die for me. I had to get in shape and do this job, or I'd lose. I lose my house, I lose my family, I lose everything all over again. So it was no option. And so I'm in the gym, I'm eating, and you guys, it was hardcore. I ate. I'll call this grit and gristle because what we're going to do, what we're going to try to do, and what we are going to do is we're going to be hardcore and we're going to get in shape. Now, to gain weight, I ate 8 times a day. 8 times a day. And it was regimen. You got to go on regimen. Okay, all you people out there are out of shape. If you want to get in shape, you stay with me and I'll help you get in shape. But it ain't easy. Probably one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But I will help you. And we're on a journey. I am the leader. Because I never ask anybody to work harder than I do. Okay, let's get back into the eating 8 times a day. Once I got into nutrition, okay, I ate breakfast in the morning. And during that breakfast time, I would cook all my meals for the rest of the day. I ate a pound of steak a day during this time. I would cut it into 6 ounces. So basically 36 grams of protein. I ate breakfast. Okay. And then at 9 o'clock, I had 6 ounces of steak, a whole cup of oatmeal, and olive oil. At lunch, there's lunch number 3, the same exact thing. 6 ounces of steak, cup of oats, olive oil. At 3 o'clock, the same thing. Okay, so there's 4 meals. Work was over. I go to the gym. On the way to the gym, I'm drinking a protein shake. There's number 5. I'd work out. After workout, on the way home, I'd drink another protein shake. There's 6 for recovery. When I got home, I ate dinner with family. There's 7. And before I went to bed, I had another protein shake or another meal. That's 8 times a day. I did that every day for 5 years. I gained 50 pounds in 5 years. I went from 130 to, actually, at one point, I was 190 pounds at my biggest, but it wasn't my best. It wasn't my healthiest because I was too big for my frame. But I had, and my body fat, I didn't have a low body fat, okay? But I had gained 185 pounds. I was 185 pounds. Was it solid muscle? No, but I didn't, because I'm an ectomorph, it wasn't that. I think I had like 17% body fat at the time. Now, but I pulled it off. And then I started learning about nutrition. At first, I was eating McDonald's. I'd buy 6 McDonald's hamburgers and bring to work, but it didn't work for me. I learned about nutrition as I was going in Nissan. We're talking about, I gained 50. So at my heaviest, I was 190, and then I about 185 is where I stayed. And then I decided I'm going to need to drop some body fat, you guys. So I started looking at diets, and I went from about 185 to 90. I went down to 175 pounds. And this is what's weird. This is what really was the light bulb came on. I dropped 15 pounds, and people at the gym were going, dude, you're really putting on some size. Oh, what? And you guys were going, you're really putting on some skin. You're really getting big. And I'm thinking, what in the hell? I just lost 15 pounds, and people tell me I'm gaining size. But what happened was an illusion was created. This 15 pounds basically come from this waist. And all of a sudden, I whittled this waist down, and it looked like I was wider up top and even wider on the bottom. And so there was an illusion, and I liked it a lot. And plus, I felt better. When I was 185, it was way too. It was too heavy for my frame. Okay, I had high blood pressure at 185 pounds. I snored so loud that it was incredible because I was too heavy up in my sinuses, and it was insane. I was too heavy for my frame. I'm an ectomorphic frame. And even though I was only 17% body fat, I was too much fat for me. Okay. It wasn't who I was. That's as big as, and also, you guys, I was 190 pounds. My goal at that time during that five-year period was to get as big and as strong as possible. And there was a point where I was done. I wasn't getting any bigger. My body would not allow it because it would have been, I think it would have been way too unhealthy. To the point, I won't tell you when I stopped because there was a certain thing my body did. I said, okay, I can't do this anymore. And that's when I said, I've achieved the biggest, as strongest as possible. And then I went into a cutting mode, and things worked out from there. Now, gosh, man, I don't have enough time. But let me tell you, that's when I started learning about things. That's when I started putting on some size and putting on some muscle and stuff too. There's genetics. And I did squats. I did everything. And even at Nissan, people said, oh, Roger, you working your legs? You working your legs? I work my legs hard. Very, very hard. I did so many squats, it's unreal. In fact, I could squat reps for 225 pounds. I got 4 minutes. Okay. And so it wasn't like I wasn't working hard. They're just one of those things. My legs is just not going to keep up with my upper body. And everybody's got a stubborn body part. Okay. I hated that for a long time, but guess what? I wear shorts in the summer now. No problem. I've conquered who I am. I understand who I am. I'm thankful for what I have. And I'm thankful that God has helped me to do these things. And believe me, what we're going to do right off the bat, here's your homework. We've only got 2 or 3 more minutes. Okay. But if you want to join me in this journey, believe me, it's all about truth and bodybuilding. I've trained, I don't know how many people, and I know what works. I know what is a myth. I know what doesn't work. I know about different body types. There is no cookie cutter formula. We're going to look at the formula for getting in shape, and it is done. First, right off the bat, you're going to have to Pray about this. And if you do not ask God to help you with this, you will not succeed. Also, if you're married, you need to ask your spouse. I think I'm going to do this thing with Roger, Grit and Gristle. And you have to have support from home, because once you start doing this, once you get in shape, the world is against you. And as your personal trainer, I'm going to help you with that. Believe me, I don't know how many times everybody's wanting me to stop. Okay, so here's your homework, homies. I want you, right off the bat, I want you to get a full physical at the doctor. If you can't do that yet, but we're going to have to do that. I need a body fat assessment. I need you to get a body fat assessment. I need you to pray about this. I want you to make a decision. This is going to be one of the hardest things you've ever done. I will help you. This ain't easy, but it will change your life. And there's a whole, man, to prepare for this first one, there's just a billion things in my mind I'm going to talk about. So get that body fat assessment. Get your attitudes right. I don't care if you're fat as a whale. I don't care if you're skinny as a rail. And I will say that. What we're going to do is take the body that we've given, that God has given us. We're going to accept who we are, and we're going to make it the best as possible. In other words, my name is Joe Blow. I'm going to be the best Joe Blow I've ever been, the 50-year-old version or the 20-year-old version. Okay, you're going to be the best shape of your life, whatever age you are, the 30-year-old version or 40-year-old version. Okay, I love you. I mean it. This is Roger Del Martin. This is Grit and Gristle. So get your butts ready, and we're going to get in shape. Pow!